Futures are pointing higher this morning as news comes out of Beijing that China's central bank is taking steps to stimulate its struggling economy. Reports also say that China and Washington will be holding trade talks early next week. And right now, who do we have with us, everybody? Or do we have Congressman Jim Banks with us? Congressman, are you here?
Good to be with you.
Nice to see you, Congressman Jim Banks, House Armed Services Committee member, House Veterans Affairs Committee member, and also Congressman John Garamendi, the Democrat from California. He's on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, to you first, John Garamendi, are you going to get anything done on the shutdown? What would you be willing to vote for?
Well, we did last night. We voted to fund all of the government programs, 6 of them for the remaining fiscal year until September 30th, one of them, Homeland Security, until February the 8th, giving the President and the Congress a month plus a few days to negotiate this wall business. And so, yes, we took votes last night. Pelosi took the gavel at the Speaker, and within hours we passed major legislation to get the government up and running and to give enough time to negotiate the wall business.
Congressman Jim Banks, I want to know, so as Congressman Garamendi was pointing out, they did vote for all of these things, but this is something that Mitch McConnell in the Senate has made clear that they're not going to take up anything that the president would veto. So where is the middle ground here?
Well, first of all, my hopes were up yesterday when Speaker Pelosi was elected as Speaker. She gave her opening speech. She quoted scripture. She quoted Ronald Reagan. She talked about regular order in the process and transparency in government. All of that was thrown out of the window just a few hours later when they put a bill on the floor that was over 1,000 pages long, a spending deal that doesn't secure our border. It opens the door to more public funding of abortions overseas. It makes it easier to raise the debt limit. This was a show vote for Democrats. Mitch McConnell has already said it's dead on arrival in the Senate. The president said he'll veto it if it comes to his desk. We're right back where we started, which is disappointing for me.
Richard Fowler has a question. Who are you going to go for, the Republican or the Democrat, Richard Fowler?
I'll go for Congressman Banks. So here's the question. I think, there seems to be clearly a stalemate over this particular wall, and I think there might be some middle ground by if the president were willing to come off the table for DACA or any of that. But how do you answer the question? I think that a lot of people are asking that the #1 reason for illegal immigrants entering this country is visa overstays, and the wall doesn't solve that problem.
Well, building the wall, securing our border is so much more than that. Whether it's the illegal drug flow that impacts communities like mine, whether it's a national security issue, or whether it's directly related to stopping and preventing illegal immigration. This was a campaign promise that President Trump made, that many members of Congress made in the last 2 election cycles to secure the border. And I stand with President Trump in doing exactly that. Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats need to come to the table with a deal to help us do that.
Wait a minute, but how do we solve visa overstays?
That can and could be part of the negotiation process. At this point, the Democrats haven't come to the table, at least in the House last night, addressing that issue whatsoever at all. But it certainly could be a part of the negotiation.
Congressman Garamendi, response to that?
Well, certainly. Last night's vote was extremely important. There were many issues, almost entirely. What we voted on last night had passed the Senate unanimously about 10 days ago. So it's known, very well known, what was in that legislation. Those were the appropriation bills that had passed the Senate, had been sent over to the House and rejected in the House by the Republicans, where they added the border wall to that legislation, sent it back to the Senate. So this is not new legislation. I want to make it very, very clear that the Democrats have repeatedly, over the last several years, up to this moment, voted for border security. We want border security, but we're not about to vote for a blank $5 billion check to the president so that he can carry out his campaign promise. Keep in mind, there is not one set of plans as to where this border wall would be built, or if it would be a bunch of spikes driven into the ground, cyclone fence, or a concrete wall. We don't know any of that, and we wouldn't give anybody the money unless they had specific plans.
To both of you, Congressman Banks and Garamendi, from the perspective of the American people, they're literally watching this battle over semantics, because it's very clear that Nancy Pelosi is never going to give money to something that's called a WA double L, and which she has called immoral. And then the president has to win with his base, has to get some funding for a WA double L. And we're sitting around with hundreds of thousands of people furloughed, people not getting paid, trash piling up at the national parks. Air traffic controllers aren't even getting paid. And we're looking, the nation is looking at Washington going, get something done.
Well, this is exactly why we passed the legislation last night. If the Senate were to pass that legislation, send it to the president, he signs it, he still has
funding. You're not budgeting on any wall funding.
He still has some 30 days before the February 8th deadline in which the funding runs out for the Department of Homeland Security. In other words, 30 days to negotiate all that we've been talking about here. It gives us an opportunity to clean up those national parks, to pay the air traffic controllers, to fund the Department of Justice, to fund the State Department. They go forward. The Department of Homeland Security, where the wall issue is found in that department, right, that remains a negotiating point for the next 30-some days until February the 8th. Let's get on with it. Open
Congressman
government.
Banks, I want, and I'm going to ask Garamendi this, Congressman Garamendi this, before we go. Congressman Banks, you give me one thing where there will be compromise. Let's just move on from the shutdown and the wall funding and the border security. Give me something else that the Republicans and the Democrats are going to come together like this. And don't say impeachment, because that will just set my hair on fire.
The last 2 years were filled with many examples of that type of compromise. In fact, President Trump compromised on almost every single major piece of legislation with Senate Democrats to move anything forward over the past 2 years. I know President Trump will negotiate on all of these issues moving forward. To give you good examples, I know my colleague on the other screen and I both serve on the Armed Services Committee. There are great opportunities for compromise to continue to restore our military back to what it needs to be, compromise on opportunities on infrastructure plans over the next 2 years. House Republicans are ready to come to the table with ideas to be a part of that process, but Nancy Pelosi also has to work with President Trump to negotiate on serious issues like ending this shutdown. And yesterday's vote was a show vote. It doesn't do that.
And Congressman Garamendi, so name something that there will be compromise on in the next few years.
Well, certainly all the things that Mr. Banks just talked about, those are on the table. We've worked on those together. Certainly the Armed Services Committee in both houses have put together a very comprehensive improvement for the military. That goes forward. But all of these issues are issues that could affect the American citizens and really the world beyond, and there will be a resolution. We just ought to keep in mind that we can open the government very quickly and still negotiate this wall over the next 30 days or so, and maybe even beyond that, depending what happens with those negotiations. There is a way of dealing with this.
I will leave you both with this, Congressman Garamendi, Congressman Banks, that technically building a partial wall, fence, barrier, that's infrastructure. Just leaving you with that. And President Obama talked about infrastructure spending in every economic speech that he gave in 8 years. So I will leave you both with that. Congressman John Garamendi and Jim Banks. Gentlemen, get something done.